Hello, my name is Rita Sheffield, and I will be presenting about self-censorship in the school library collections. So as we look at self-censorship, we have 3 guiding questions we'll be thinking about. First, what is self-censorship? We've certainly heard the word censorship often enough these past years, so we'll look at what it means to do it ourselves. Secondly, why is self-censorship dangerous for librarians? As future librarians ourselves, this is something we need to be aware of. And lastly, what can we do to combat self-censorship? There are things. So what is self-censorship? The school librarian, as an internal censor, may choose to act through the non-selection of realistic fiction to protect the reader from the content or to protect the content from being questioned. Now, what that means is that the librarian is making some choices. The purchaser allows their own personal biases to dictate books chosen for the library, or controversial materials are not ordered due to fear of challenges. These are 2 ways that librarians self-censor their choices. School Library Journal did a survey in September of 2022 of librarians across the country, thousands of librarians, asking several questions. One is, how often do you find yourself weighing the effect of controversial subject matter when making book purchase decisions? Astonishingly, 75% of those librarians surveyed said often or sometimes they think about it. Would this be controversial? It is a school librarian's responsibility to use their professional expertise to provide information relevant to all learners, educators, and members of the learning community. We don't just serve a certain portion of the community. We serve everyone and need to provide materials for everyone to be able to move forth. Another thing that School Library Journal surveyed is what subject matter has led you to pass on purchasing a book. Now, this was interesting to me. The sexual content and profanity or vulgar language, those were by far the top 2 things that librarians were hesitant about purchasing. LGBTQIA+, that came in at 29%, and you can see more so for elementary and more so for rural areas. But once we look at the top 10 challenged books of the last year, you will see that sexual content and profanity actually were not the 2 most challenged kinds of books. So I found that very interesting. Why is self-censorship dangerous for librarians? Well, censorship of any kind creates more harm than good. It can lead to several things. It can lead to missed opportunities for critical thinking. This is just one way to think about things. Missed opportunities to learn from the past, which means we're more likely to repeat our mistakes. And it can lead to suppression of ideas that challenge the status quo. That would be bad. We wouldn't want students having independent thoughts now, would we? Yikes. Another question the School Library Journal survey asked in 2022 was, have you removed a potentially problematic book from library shelves in the last 2 years without a formal review or challenge for the following reasons? It probably won't surprise you to hear that public scrutiny and the direction of administrators were the top 2 reasons why. We've seen those news stories recently, and there can be a lot of pressure for a librarian to remove books from shelves. School libraries provide the widest possible range of viewpoints, opinions, and ideas so that every learner has the opportunity to read freely and pursue success in college, career, and beyond. Again, this goes back to school libraries in general, needing to represent everyone, needing to represent all ideas. Now, here's what I was referring to earlier. The top 10 most challenged books of 2023 were mainly LGBTQIA+. Those were by far and away the most challenged books. Now, if you recall those survey results from earlier, librarians said the top 2 reasons that they would hold off on ordering a book was sexual content and profanity, not LGBTQIA+. So that was interesting. What can we do to combat self-censorship? It sounds overwhelming, but there are some things we can do. First off, we can provide numerous checkout opportunities for our students. They need practice finding books. Mistakes help students learn what books are right for them. It's tougher for a parent to be angry about a library book if their child can immediately exchange it. So to get in the habit of saying, if you don't like that book you checked out, return it. Return it in 30 seconds, this afternoon, tomorrow, no worries. Secondly, review the district reconsideration policy. Most likely, board policy would not allow you to just remove a book from your library shelves unless you follow those mandated steps. So keep that in mind. Also, you can craft an elevator speech or key phrases to use when confronted with a complaint. For example, talking about how you need a diverse collection because you're teaching a diverse group of students. Evaluate your collection by using the selection criteria. This includes the age of the books you have, the quality of them, and the amount of books about one topic. Use the district's selection policy and criteria. This will reflect diversity, support curriculum and students' personal interests, will include books that are highly reviewed and age appropriate. And this is different than textbook and instructional material criteria because library selection includes choice and voluntary reading. So it's a different criteria altogether. One thing I thought was very neat that could be made with your students is a student's right to read poster. You can review the ALA's Library Bill of Rights and the Freedom to Read statement, and then make a poster that's age appropriate for your students that shows that you have spent time thinking about this issue, and without saying a word, you've guided students, teachers, administrators, and parents and guardians about what happens in the library. Now, the School Library Journal survey in 2022 also asked, does your school or district have a formal book challenge procedure? 79% said yes. However, Jamie LaRue, who is the executive director of the ALA's Office for Intellectual Freedom and the executive director for the Freedom to Read Foundation, says that really 100% of school libraries should have a book challenge or reconsideration policy, not just the 79%. It is one of the most basic foundations for the operation of a library. He states that the absence of one is an immediate and urgent liability. One quote I loved is that your self-awareness is your greatest strength. While it's also what makes this so difficult, the fact that you are actively grappling with self-censorship speaks volumes to your professionalism. Take that to heart. And that's true. Because we care, it is hard. So I want to leave you with a few points to ponder now. Knowing your own personal biases, what might be the most challenging reason for you to not self-censor in ordering books? And I'll tell you, for me, in this politically charged days we live in right now, I would really not want to order books about certain politicians just because I don't like them and agree with them, but that's not my call. Secondly, what strategy or strategies do you think would best help you prevent self-censorship? Personally, I liked that Library Bill of Rights. I think that would be a great conversation with students and a great thing for parents to see. And lastly, is there ever a reason that makes it acceptable to not order a popular book for your library? What reasons? And as I thought about that, the movie Wicked just came out, and I'm sure many of my students will see it over these next few weeks, and they will probably ask to read the book. While the movie is enjoyable with lots of songs and it relates to Wizard of Oz, the book is most definitely a YA book, and I would not suggest that an elementary student read it for a number of reasons. So if you've read it, you'll know what I'm talking about, but that's just one thing I thought of there. Thank you for following along on this journey and coming to my TED Talk. I hope you learned a lot about self-censorship in the school library collections. I look forward to learning more from you now. Thank you.